Assets4Feed, the logging and maintenance system from DSL Systems, Part 2. In Part 1 we went through the basics of Assets4Feed, and in Part 2 we'll cover more advanced features. Firstly, if you're running an autopilot for feed system, the plant operator can note items which may require attention. What happens is you select the particular item, select Report Fault. The system displays the history of reported faults so that the operator will know, for example, if the previous shift has reported it. The operator then selects how important it is, enters a description, and the initials of the operator, and presses OK. Going into Assets4Feed, Maintenance, Assets4Feed, we'll run this as manager. If you look at maintenance reported faults, this shows a list of all the reported faults, and you can search for a particular item, or you can search between a start date and an end date, then just press reset. Going back to autopilot for feed, there's something else which the operator or the maintenance people can do. If you select an item, you can also then log maintenance against an item. So this particular one, CRC1, you can either say it's unplanned or it's planned maintenance. So if I select unplanned maintenance, I can enter the details here saying what it was, the time started, time taken, downtime for example, and by whom. Click on OK, and that gets logged in with the history of that item. Going into Assets4Feed and selecting some item of equipment, say this fan here, it's clear to see when some maintenance is overdue because it's highlighted in red. Now we can add work orders to the system. If you want to add a work order, you select the button Work. You can call a work order whatever you want and enter some information about the work order initially, allocated to somebody. You can schedule it for the future and enter the instructions here, or press the button Get Instructions from the task. You can add a number of supporting documents to it. So if you click on the plus button, here are some documents I have already. Here's a photograph, and if I want to look at that document, I click on the magnifying glass and up comes the photograph. I can add a wiring diagram and I can look at it, so there it is. For each work order you can have a number of work order components. I've entered some here, so for this work order perhaps we might want a grease gun, one of those, maybe for example a ring spanner, and maybe two of those. And when I'm happy with it, I can either press the print on save with the documents, if you check that, or just press save. Now when the work order is completed, the operator clicks on Done button. So here is defaults to the date, by whom, and you can put in the times here. Any notes required, and then just press Save History. Now you can look at the maintenance history of any item by clicking on this tab here, Maintenance History, and the left arrow goes back to see all the previous maintenance done on this item, and this button goes forwards. Now we talked about work orders having work order components, and if you go to Maintenance, Work Order Components, here are some that I've entered as an example. We can enter a new one there. Type would be perhaps tool, supplier if you want to enter, and then just press save. Maintenance due. If you look at maintenance and maintenance schedule, this shows all the maintenance that's due, and there's some standard searches you can enter just by pressing the button here, and it populates the end date. So if I click on one of those, here are the types of maintenance that I'm looking at, and press search. It comes up with all of the relevant maintenance items which are due, and that red exclamation mark is because it's overdue. You can see when I leave the cursor alone for a moment, it brings up more information about that maintenance task. In part 1 we talked about the data which was coming in, and if I look at an item of equipment, the information imported in at the time started, running hours, times failed and times overridden, and it comes in as 4 main periods. Please don't zero period 1 because that's used for the averages, and it's used for the maintenance schedule when it's looking at time started or running hours. If you want to zero any of the other periods, you go to zero periods, period 3 say, and just confirm that. There are lots of reports that you can get out from the system. Select File, then Print Report, and this gives a complete list of the reports, and most of them are very self-explanatory. Select a report, click Open, and up comes the report. Every report you can either print it out by pressing on this button here, or you can export it to a different format if you click on this here, and the formats that you can export it to: PDF, Excel format, text, and so on. But if I select one, say Excel, click on OK, it asks some basic formatting information, where I want to store it, and press save, and that exports that data. Some reports require you to enter some information, list of equipment with a common subassembly, and this report will need to know which subassembly I'm interested in. Here's an example of a subassembly. Click on OK, and this tells you all of the items that this subassembly is found in. Here's another example, list of subassemblies in stores, and it comes up and shows you all of the subassemblies, the number in stores, and if you've entered a store's location, the location where it is. If you need further help, then the documentation is easy to get at. Maintenance Assets4Feed documentation, and this is the main user technical manual for Assets4Feed. If there's any further information you'd like, then please don't hesitate to contact DSL Systems, and the information is here on the screen. Thank you.